Michael.
How are you, Sean?
Here we are, man.
How many days in are we now?
We're a number of days in.
Still standing.
No, we're still standing. Did we ever stop standing?
Amen. That's part of the
straight
problem.
Overnight. Standing overnight. Standing for the few minutes sleeping, we're standing.
Exactly.
Because of all the good conversations we're having.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been connected in different settings for different dinners and events and things, and
Right.
obviously we're on the show floor.
Yep.
A lot of interesting conversations happening.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that quickly, though. Your role at Steel Patriot Partners.
Yeah.
We're going to get into some of the things you do with the organization as well.
Yeah, so Chief Growth Officer, Steel Patriot Partners, responsibility for our strategic partner program, our channel partner program, everything on the sales side and marketing. But I think a lot of the themes, and I know we're going to get into this, definitely speak to partners and partner motion. And some of the conversations that we were talking about earlier with a lot of the CISOs that are here, it's definitely leaning in that direction.
Right. So the days of direct sales.
Yeah.
I think it's always a pendulum, right? Or a cycle.
It is.
Swing. But what are you hearing? Because I think CISOs are overwhelmed, right?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say the days of direct sales are quote unquote dead. But unfortunately, automation and AI has kind of flooded the market from a sales and marketing perspective. And as a result, I mean, CISOs were already inundated before, right? Like they couldn't respond to everything. But now they don't even know how to sort through what's real, what isn't real. And I think like the marketing and the sales pitch is more about the product as opposed to what problem are you trying to solve for.
Right.
So what's interesting, like a theme that I've seen over the last couple of days in talking to my network, is that a lot of CISOs, they're not taking direct sales calls anymore. Not that they were doing a lot before, but now they can't even keep up with it. So they're looking for people within their network or partners, or even things like a good partner at a VAR, for example, to go to and say, help me figure this out. This is my business problem. What are you seeing out there? Solution and tool agnostic in order to solve for the business problem. There's more and more of that, and even some of the conversations I've been having directly. Some of the questions that I got from some of the new relationships I've made is, well, do you work with a VAR? Who can I buy you through? Right.
Yeah.
Who can I go to buy you through? Yeah. So there's motivation around that, and I think it speaks to the old school trust from some of those partners that's starting to come back.
Yeah. So I'm hearing very similar things from folks that I'm talking to as well.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just going to throw this out there because we've talked about this.
Yeah.
The journey. So yes, I have a business objective.
Right.
But I need somebody who knows what I've been doing.
Right.
Where I need to go, how I'm going to move from here to there. And we all know that you can't just buy something off the shelf.
Exactly.
And it's going to work perfectly.
Right.
And so you can get a trusted partner to help you identify, maybe narrow down the landscape,
right,
and then purchase the right things for that.
Yeah.
But then actually getting it to achieve the objective is a whole nother story.
Yeah, it's funny. So we had a great partner meeting yesterday. More to come on this in the future, coming out of Black Hat, but partnership with RegScale and Wiz and us, right, as a services partner. And I think the light bulb that went off for us was we're becoming more of an SI.
Right.
In that direction. It's engineering at the core. But you talk to Wiz, you talk to RegScale, you talk to a number of these different solutions. The biggest problem is people will buy, but they don't know how to scale and implement and configure. And the software providers, rightfully so, we can't figure that out from a business perspective. We have product, we have great enhancements, great solutions. You need somebody to align and configure that meets your business expectations and needs. And I mean, just over the last 3 days, that's what most of our conversations have been about. Yeah. We've got the stack. Can you help us evaluate it? Is it the right stack? What should we throw out? What should we keep? How do we configure it to meet our business objectives? Seems simple, but it's it's difficult.
Right. And yeah, last year's business objectives are different from this year's, can be different from next year's.
Exactly.
And probably even as AI continues to make things more live,
Right.
if you will, or real time,
Right.
maybe another way to look at it. I think business plans will also, and the stack will also be real time. And
Exactly.
agile development with AI
Right.
coding and all this stuff, it's going to change the way people do business,
Yeah.
change the way they implement their stack, manage their stack, and they're going to need somebody to help them along that path,
Correct.
right? Because
And I think the other theme that we're seeing, not just with tokens, but consumption-based models, a lot of organizations don't have a good handle on that. Right? It's kind of like, well, it's going to cost whatever it's going to take because it's something that we need to do. I had a conversation with a partner this morning, something as simple as like licensing costs, where one client, a collective client of ours, was paying $750,000 in licensing costs. They went to a particular VAR. Within probably a day, they shaved $250,000 off their licensing costs just because somebody looked at it independently, right? So I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in some of those traditional models that AI isn't necessarily going to solve for.
right.
Okay? And that's become a big part of the business owner's first conversation.
And certainly there's no lack of, I think every company has a platform
Yep.
now, right?
Yep.
Which basically says now you have a bunch of platforms. right?
Exactly.
Not just a bunch of products,
Right.
but also platforms.
Right.
Some things connect. Some may API
Most
to
don't.
each other. Most don't.
Right.
And somebody has to connect them.
Exactly.
So do organizations hire engineers to connect all this stuff, and engineers to respond to incidents, and engineers to manage AI and all this stuff?
Right.
So I think engineering, though we've abstracted stuff so wildly with platforms and APIs and everything,
Yep.
there's going to need to be coding.
There is, and this came up last night with, again, a CISO within our network. We were talking about identity. How long have we been talking about identity? Identity's still a mess.
30 years or something.
Still a mess, right? Nothing is integrated. But trying to have one single source of truth, not just for identity, but for all of these systems, is a big challenge. And the only way right now is basically some level of custom engineering.
Right.
Even if there's a tool out there, if it's not configured appropriately, you're not going to get that single source of truth, right? So yeah, we're seeing a big movement in that direction.
And when you're talking to clients, you've helped identify, so if they have a business need, you kind of evaluate what that is. Some of it may be compliance driven, and some of it may be security and risk management driven.
Right.
You help them say, all right, given this objective, here's how we might approach this, and help you deliver against that.
Yeah, and not only that, but we share what we do for our own organization, right? I mean, look, my company's full of engineers, right? They love to geek out at this stuff.
Right.
So when they find a new hack, no pun intended, right, or something that's worked better for us from a business standpoint, they want to scream it from the mountaintops and share with all of our clients. Be like, hey, have you considered this? Like, we just found this out. This has made our business more efficient, which allows us to provide more effective service for our clients, and then we pass those tidbits on as well.
Because even in my own experience and talking to a lot of folks over the years of building, delivering products, there's the cost of the software, cost of the license, cost of maintenance, subscription, whatever it is. Certainly the cost of deployment and management.
Yep.
But now we have other factors like keeping things connected. So I'm wondering how you look at the costing, and you mentioned the tokens, right?
Yeah.
The biggest change recently.
Right.
But how do you kind of help picture the return on all these investments where there may be bits and bytes of things that aren't really factored into the cost?
Exactly. So we had a conversation the other day about journeys, right? And where people are in their journeys. That is a big question that comes up a lot, which is, look, from an overall cost perspective, what's the ROI associated with this tooling that I have? And what we often find is you're not recognizing the ROI because you're not using it appropriately or it's not configured appropriately. So there's this false expectation that I spent all this money on this solution. You have best of breed. If you configure it appropriately, then you could recognize the ROI associated with that. That takes an engineer, right? And unfortunately, there's obviously a lot of software sales folks that's not their game. We don't expect them to be in that game, but you need to have some level of engineering support. And I go back to this like traditional SI services. I think they're back. They're coming back.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
I'm hearing more and more of it.
Exactly.
So what, I don't know, pick a recent engagement and talk kind of through the path or that journey of we need this outcome.
Yeah.
Here's where we are.
Yep.
How you help them either directly or through your ecosystem to achieve X, Y, and Z.
So I think a good example, client of ours had their own security stack from a tooling perspective, had a lot of big solutions, you name it, right, Wiz, traditional GRC, ServiceNows, et cetera, was asked by the board to cut a significant amount of the IT and information security budget.
Right.
So they came to us and said, how can you help us, right? What can we consolidate? Are there configurations where we could recognize more ROI associated with that, et cetera? And we were able to hit their number and exceed it from a cost savings perspective. And we're in the process of building and strengthening their information security. And I think it was just years of deferred maintenance, but deferred maintenance relative to the stack, right? I mean, you get a bunch of cybersecurity people that are so excited to buy tools and add it to the stack, but they don't have the resources or the time to configure and actually use it. So it was one of those situations.
And maybe some insights on what you brought to that conversation that they may have been able to come to the same conclusion themselves.
Yep.
But either there was a blocker or lack of time or what
I think
how do you unlock it?
I think the main thing was analyzing overlap, right? So looking at all these solutions and the tools that they have to say, why do you have 3 different tools that can all accomplish the same business outcome? Pick one, right? Maybe nothing is best of breed, but I think it's a conversation we had a couple months ago, or maybe it was at RSA, where good enough, if it's a tried and trusted old school brand that has the capabilities that are good enough. It may not be sexy, it may not be a .ai platform.
But configured properly.
But configured appropriately, it works, and I think we're gonna see what happened in cloud 10 years ago, consolidation relative to hyperscalers.
Right.
I mean, really, we only have 3 major players, right? You can argue 5, right? You want to put Cloudflare in there, for example. There's really only 3. I think we're going to start seeing that from a cybersecurity tool perspective, and also a GRC perspective.
Right.
I mean, there's 48 main GRC providers. Give me a break, right? I mean, I think within 5 years, that's going to be down to 5.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. And I mean, each environment's different. We talk about this, different maturity levels, different objectives.
Everything's a snowflake.
Everything's a snowflake. But there are some, and this is probably where the VARs even come in more appropriately than the SIs for the larger organization, but the small, medium,
yes, yeah,
they struggle with the same thing.
Exactly.
And they have fewer resources and less ability to really get a hand of all this stuff. So
that's
I think,
right.
You might need a few GRCs for that space.
Right.
But it doesn't matter if it's not configured appropriately.
Exactly.
And integrated into the business.
That's
to
right.
achieve the outcomes of the
Yeah, that's right. And that's one of the reasons why we love partnering with VARs, because they obviously have all the SKUs,
right?
And they come to us and say, you tell us what they need. What do they need to buy, right? And then we help facilitate the function.
Yep.
So that's why it's such a great partnership for us.
I love it. Well, let's close with this. Maybe a word to the CISOs that follow this. You get to talk to a lot of them.
Yep.
Maybe a word to them of what you see coming that maybe they should start thinking about now as they put their next budget cycle together?
I mean, I would hope that most of them are thinking about it. What I think the most important thing is go to your anchor partners that you have. Again, whether that's a VAR, whether that's a trusted advisory relationship, go to your anchor partners to source information around what does the future of the stack and the budget look like, as opposed to trying to talk to everybody, right? So bring it closer to the chest, right?
Okay.
Go to those trusted people and say, what are you doing next year, or what's worked for you this year? Because there's just too many vendors, and everyone's going to promise you the world, and the reality is they're not delivering on that.
Right.
So go to your trusted partners, right?
Yeah.
Go back to the well.
Yeah.
That's what I think a lot of CISOs are really starting to do.
And I'm going to add something that I've heard your co-founder Jason Ford say.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing about collecting information.
Yep.
He says, have an open mind.
Yes. Have an open
And I
mind.
love that.
That's right.
Because it's easy to get so buried in what we're working on.
Yes.
If you forget to have an open mind, when you're asked the question, have you considered? It's a very different conversation.
Yes, it
when
is.
You have an open mind and you listen to what others are saying.
That's right.
So not just taking in info.
That's right.
Mike, it's always good to chat
Hey,
with you, my friend.
you too, man. Good
Keep up
seeing
the
you
good
as
work.
always.
And connect with Mike Parisi on LinkedIn and the Steel Patriot Partners team. They're doing all kinds of cool stuff, obviously setting up some new partnerships.
Yeah.
So if you have a solution that needs some engineering and integration support, these are your guys.
More to come.
More to come. All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.